There is a conversation happening in your life right now. A conversation about money, about success, about risk, about what is possible for someone like you. And the strange thing is, you may not be the one who started it. Because long before you earned your first paycheck, long before you opened your first bank account, long before you learned what interest rates, investments, or retirement plans were, someone was teaching you about money. Not with lessons, with patterns, with reactions, with silence. Maybe it sounded like, we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. People like us have to work twice as hard. Don't take risks. Just be grateful for what you have. Maybe nobody said those exact words, but you felt them in the tension that filled the room when bills arrived, in the arguments that started at the end of every month, in the way your parents checked prices before putting groceries in the cart, in the way opportunities were viewed with suspicion instead of curiosity. Children absorb far more than they understand, and often, what we absorb becomes what we repeat. Not because we choose it, because it feels normal. Let me introduce you to Kwame. Kwame grew up in a small flat with 5 people sharing 3 rooms. His father worked constantly, construction during the day, security work at night. The man was almost never home, and when he was home, he was exhausted. Kwame's mother could stretch a meal in ways that felt miraculous. A bag of rice became a week, a small chicken became 3 dinners. Nothing was wasted, nothing. Money wasn't discussed in their home. It was survived, and survival became the family language. When Kwame got his first real job in his late 20s, something interesting happened. He earned more money than either of his parents had ever earned. By every objective measure, his circumstances had changed, but his behavior hadn't. Every month he spent almost everything. Not because he was irresponsible, not because he was reckless, because deep down, saving money felt unnatural, even uncomfortable. Whenever his account balance grew, he felt an urge to spend. A new phone, a weekend trip, dinner for everyone, something, anything. It was as though having money created anxiety, so he got rid of it. Psychologists call this a form of financial conditioning. Studies on scarcity have repeatedly shown that growing up with prolonged financial instability can shape decision-making decades later. The brain learns to prioritize immediate relief over long-term security. Not because people are foolish, because uncertainty teaches urgency, and urgency rarely thinks 20 years ahead. Kwame wasn't bad with money. He was operating from a survival program, a program he never consciously installed. Years later, sitting across from a financial coach, he said something that surprised even him. "I don't actually believe people like my family become wealthy." The room went quiet, because there it was, the real issue. Not budgeting, not income, belief. A blueprint hidden beneath the numbers. And that's the thing about inherited patterns. They rarely announce themselves. They disguise themselves as common sense, as reality, as just the way things are. But sometimes they're neither truth nor reality. They're simply old instructions. Instructions that helped somebody survive a season, but were never meant to become a permanent identity. Ezekiel 18 was written to people who believed they were trapped by what previous generations had done. They had a proverb: the parents eat sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. In other words, we're suffering because of what came before us. But God rejects that idea. Not because generations don't influence each other, they absolutely do. But influence is not destiny. Inheritance is not imprisonment. You may receive the blueprint. You do not have to keep building from it. And sometimes the inherited pattern isn't poverty. Sometimes it's something else entirely. Let me tell you about David. David grew up wealthy, very wealthy. Private schools, family vacations, a house large enough that he rarely saw everyone at once. From the outside, people assumed he had every advantage. In some ways, he did. In other ways, he inherited a different problem. Nobody taught him stewardship. Money simply appeared. When something broke, it was replaced. When something was wanted, it was purchased. When a financial mistake happened, someone else absorbed the consequences. So when David became an adult, he had income, but no structure, no discipline, no understanding of delayed gratification. By 35, he was earning 6 figures and carrying enough debt to keep him awake at night. Different background, different story, same principle. The problem wasn't income. The problem was inheritance. One inherited scarcity, the other inherited excess. Both inherited dysfunction. Because money itself isn't the pattern, the thinking is. That's why some people escape poverty and remain trapped, and why some people inherit wealth and still lose everything. Because what is passed down is often bigger than money. It's identity, it's assumptions, it's expectations, it's fear, it's habits, it's emotional responses. And unless those things are examined, they quietly become destiny. The breakthrough for Kwame came from a simple exercise. Every time he made a financial decision, he asked one question: who taught me this? Not who told me, who taught me? Because teaching doesn't always happen with words. Sometimes it happens through observation. When he spent money impulsively, he asked, who taught me this? When he panicked about investing, who taught me this? When he assumed wealthy people were probably dishonest, who taught me this? When he felt guilty for earning more than his parents ever did, who taught me this? And little by little, the pattern became visible. What had felt like personality started looking more like programming. And what is programmed can be rewritten. Not overnight, not magically, but intentionally. Kwame began reading, learning, finding mentors, having conversations his parents never had access to. Not because his parents failed him, because they couldn't teach what they themselves had never learned. That realization changed everything. It replaced blame with compassion. His parents had handed him the tools they possessed. Now it was his responsibility to gather new ones. 3 years later, his financial life looked completely different. Emergency fund, investments, long-term goals, systems, structure, peace. Not because he became a different person, because he became a conscious one. And maybe that's the invitation for you too. Not to criticize the people who came before you. Not to sit in resentment. Not to pretend their struggles didn't shape you. But to ask a brave question: what am I carrying that was never mine to keep? Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's the belief that success belongs to other people. Maybe it's the idea that you'll always struggle because everyone before you struggled. Whatever it is, bring it into the light. Look at it honestly. Thank it for whatever purpose it once served, and then decide whether it deserves a place in the future you're trying to build. Because the greatest gift you can give the next generation is not money. It's a healthier pattern, a wiser blueprint, a different story. And every new story begins the same way. One person decides the old one ends with them. If this message hit different, if something in your spirit just shifted, don't let it stop there. Hit like. Not for the numbers, but because there's a steward somewhere still scrolling who needs to find this. Share it with the one who's been praying for breakthrough, but hasn't had the word broken down with receipts yet. And subscribe to Bible Rebooted. We're not here to make you feel good. We're here to hand you the truth and show you what to do with it. Manage it like it was never yours. It's your boy Dave Solara, signing out. Like, subscribe, and stream music.
In your deepest despair, I am right there. Your pain is my pain. Your burden I bear. I see you. I count it every tear. When your own heart was scolding. In the betrayal, the silence, the unanswered prayer. You are not known. You are not forgotten there. You are not forgotten there. You are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. I see you.